Hello, this is the Lord's Legion and welcome to a brand new movie review. And of course the movie in question that I'm going to be reviewing is of course the quote-unquote reboot slash prequel of sorts, Bumblebee. And I say this because this movie is by far the most different out of all of the other Transformers films, yet at the same time it's supposed to be set within the same timeline as the Bayformer films. Like anyone really cares about the Transformers continuity at this point, because clearly everyone seems to be suffering from the Transformers fatigue, but honestly, with Bumblebee I had some hopes. But without further ado, let's begin with this review. Now like I said, going into Bumblebee I had a lot of hope for this film, mainly because it was going to take a step backwards and essentially give us the Transformers we've all been waiting for. And from the moment where they announced that Michael Bay wouldn't be anywhere near the film and that instead we're going to have a talent such as Travis Knight directing the film, it had me all the more excited into seeing Bumblebee and what he had to bring to the table. Because for the first time since its inception we're going to have new life into this franchise. But coming out of this film, I am incredibly surprised because not only is this a fantastic Transformers movie on its own, but I genuinely believe that Bumblebee is one of the best movies of 2018. Because this movie delivers on pretty much everything I wanted to see from this film and so much more. And I know that every reviewer is going to say this at this point, but after all of this time we have finally got a Transformers movie that is more than meets the eye. I couldn't resist. Now the plot for Bumblebee is very straightforward as we have most of the Autobot and Decepticons still in the Cybertronian war, and since the Decepticons had an upper hand, the only way for the Autobots to win the war is if Bumblebee goes to Earth and protect the humans from other Decepticons. So that way with Bumblebee's protection that would lead to the other Autobot into joining him on Earth. But over time Bumblebee does grow very fond of a particular human who takes care of him. The human in question of course being Charlie, who is played by Haley Steinfeld. And I found her character to be very likeable because she has multiple layers and for once I actually gave a shit about a human character. She has somewhat of a tragic past and is also seen as somewhat of an outcast, but along with that she is pretty smart when it comes down to vehicles. And as far as human characters are concerned, Charlie is easily the best out of anyone from the Transformers franchise, or at the very least from this movie incarnation. But then of course we do have our main character in the name of Bumblebee, and I'm gonna say I love this version of Bumblebee. Because unlike the previous version of the movie Bumblebee, this new Bumblebee is charming, likeable and even adorable at times. I love what they did with his origin, and I especially loved his journey on how to adapt with other humans. And I even bought his relationship with Charlie and how well they mesh with one another. And yeah, you can easily point out the comparisons with the Iron Giant, but honestly, this isn't even a bad thing because this is actually refreshing for this series. Now what Bumblebee has in spades is the fact that this movie has a ton of heart and it shows so much respect to the original source material. This film does have a lot of humour, but unlike the other films that had nothing but crude humour, this humour is rather charming, and it did make me chuckle several times throughout the film. And unlike the previous films, Bumblebee does have a much brighter tone, which I think is a much welcome addition given how most people are sick to death with nothing but explosions, sex jokes, and just the gritty nature of these films. But speaking of action scenes, despite Bumblebee not having nearly as many as the previous films, whenever this movie does action scenes, they do a much better job than any of the previous films. Because you can actually tell who's fighting who thanks to some solid editing, and it even helps that we can actually distinguish who is who, which is all thanks to the fact that majority of these Transformers are now in their G1 designs, although slightly updated, and they do look amazing. And a little side note, the opening scene on Cybertron is by far the best thing I have ever seen from the Transformers film series. Because after seeing the likes of Optimus, Starscream, Soundwave and even Soundwave in their G1 forms just gave me goosebumps. And at that very moment I felt like a kid again. The only real criticism I have for Bumblebee is that I wish we could have had a much better villain for Bumblebee to face off against. Sure, the two Decepticons, Shatter and Dropkick, do have their moments and are fairly memorable for who they are, but to me I just feel like they should have been side villains while we had at least one major Decepticon. And I feel like not using Starscream for this movie was a huge missed opportunity, given that he and Bumblebee do have this rivalry. And if they went ahead and used Starscream as the main villain instead and have the other two Decepticons as side villains, then I think that would have been perfect. Because that way Bumblebee would have a definitive rival. But aside from that one gripe, I don't have a single thing bad about Bumblebee to say. Because this movie is damn near perfect and is everything that I wanted to see from a Transformers film. This movie has heart, this movie has some creative fight scenes, and most of all, we spend plenty of time with Bumblebee. And never once does it feel like Bumblebee is getting overshadowed by the other humans. To me, Bumblebee did exactly what Halloween 2018 did by bringing new life into a dead franchise. And I really can't stress this enough, but I just love Bumblebee, and it's by far one of the best films of 2018. And so for the final verdict for Bumblebee, I'm going to go ahead and give it a very well deserved 9 out of 10. And even though this film is supposed to be set within the same timeline as the other Transformers movies, I honestly hope that Paramount and Hasbro change their mind and have Bumblebee be its own separate thing and kickstart this Transformers reboot. Because what they have right there is something very special, and if they go with this route, then I cannot wait to see what they do next with this franchise. And it seems like me and many people do agree in that Bumblebee is the very Transformers film we deserved. So what do you think of the Bumblebee spin-off film if you've already seen it? And if you have yet to see the film, are you still very much excited into seeing Bumblebee? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.